Part 1, A Fateful Encounter. Zara Cade checked the readings on her battered ship's console again, hoping the dwindling fuel reserves and oxygen levels were just a glitch. But the flashing warning lights confirmed her dire situation. She was stranded, light years from the nearest human outpost, on an uncharted alien world. With a frustrated sigh, Zara leaned back in the pilot's seat and stared out at the endless expanse of lavender grasslands and swirling turquoise skies that stretched to the horizon. It was beautiful, in an eerie and unfamiliar way. But beauty wouldn't save her from suffocating when the oxygen scrubbers gave out or freezing when the power died and took the heat with it. A flash of movement caught her eye and Zara sat up, squinting against the glare of the alien sun. Something was moving through the tall grass, leaving a trail of broken stalks and shimmering ichor in its wake. Zara's heart raced as she gripped the edge of the console. She'd scanned for life signs when she crash-landed and the sensors had come up empty. But the readings must have been wrong. She watched the creature stumble and collapse, its large form heaving with labored breaths. It didn't look like any alien she'd encountered before, a blend of feline grace and reptilian scales, with a long serpentine neck and a feathered mane. But it was clearly injured and in pain. Zara hesitated, torn between caution and compassion. She knew the dangers of interacting with unknown species, especially in their own environments. But the creature's suffering pulled at something deep within her. She couldn't just sit there and watch it die. Mind made up, Zara grabbed the emergency med kit and a phase pistol, just in case, and lowered the landing ramp. The alien atmosphere hit her like a wall of thick humidity as she stepped outside, but it was breathable, with a tang of ozone and spice. "Hey there," she called out softly as she approached the fallen alien. "It's okay, I won't hurt you." The creature's slitted eyes whirled to face her and it let out a trilling hiss, feathered mane flaring around its angular head. Zara froze, one hand tightening on her pistol. But she kept her movements slow and her voice soothing as she inched closer. "You're injured," she said, spotting the jagged gash along the creature's iridescent flank. Seizing ichor pooled beneath it, staining the lavender grass cobalt blue. "Please, let me help." The alien stared at her for a long moment, amber eyes swirling with an intelligence that sent a shiver down Zara's spine. Then, to her shock, it spoke. "Help me." The words were halting and heavily accented, but understandable. Zara gaped as the alien's form shimmered and shifted, scales and feathers melting away to reveal an almost humanoid figure with porcelain blue skin and long silver hair. "You're hurt," Zara managed, shaking off her awe to crouch beside the alien. She pulled out a pressure bandage and antiseptic spray from the med kit. "I have medical supplies. I can treat your wound." The alien nodded weakly, opalescent eyes tracking Zara's every movement as she worked. Its blood was shockingly warm against her fingers, and she felt a strange tingle where it touched her skin. But the alien remained still while she cleaned and bound the gash. "There," Zara said, rocking back on her heels to examine her handiwork. "That should hold for now. But you need proper medical attention. Do you have a way to contact your people?" The alien blinked at her slowly, then shook its head. "Far from home. Ship crashed." Zara let out a breath, something twisting in her heart. She knew that feeling all too well. "I'm stranded here too," she admitted. "But my ship is mostly intact. You can stay there while you recover." She didn't know what made her offer shelter to an unknown alien. Maybe it was the vulnerability in those swirling eyes or the realization that they were both lost and alone on this strange world. But as she helped the injured alien to its feet and supported its surprisingly light weight against her side, Zara felt a flicker of something that might have been hope amidst the fear and uncertainty. Perhaps fate had brought them together for a reason. Two castaways, united by chance and necessity. As they limped towards her damaged ship, an alien sun setting behind them, Zara couldn't shake the feeling that her life had just changed in ways she couldn't begin to imagine. The alien leaned heavily against Zara as they made their way up the landing ramp, its breaths coming in short, pained gasps. Zara eased it down onto a makeshift bunk she'd cobbled together from spare crates and blankets, trying to make it as comfortable as possible. "Rest here," she said, pressing a canteen of water into the alien's trembling hands. "I'll see if I can boost the distress signal, let your people know where to find you." The alien clutched the canteen like a lifeline but shook its head. "No use," it rasped. "Too far. Dangerous to call." Zara frowned, a prickle of unease running down her spine. "Dangerous how?" The alien's eyes fluttered closed, exhaustion pulling at its strange but beautiful features. "Hunted," it whispered. "Not safe." A chill seeped into Zara's bones despite the muggy heat of the ship. She had so many questions, but now wasn't the time to press. The alien needed rest and care, not an interrogation. "Okay," she said softly, adjusting the blanket over its narrow shoulders. "Just focus on healing. We'll figure out the rest later." The alien seemed to relax slightly, its breathing evening out as it drifted into a fitful doze. Zara watched it for a long moment, trying to wrap her mind around the impossibility of their situation. Less than a day ago, she'd been charting asteroid belts in an unexplored quadrant, another solo scouting mission like dozens before. Now she was playing nurse to an injured alien on an uncharted world, with both their futures uncertain. But as she looked down at the alien's sleeping face, something stirred in her chest. A flicker of protectiveness, of connection. They were in this together now, for better or worse. And she'd do whatever she could to keep them both safe. With a final check of the alien's bandages, Zara slipped out of the makeshift med bay and headed for the cockpit. She needed to run a full diagnostic on the ship's systems and figure out their next move. But even as she lost herself in the familiar routine of repairs and contingency plans, her thoughts kept drifting back to her unexpected patient. Who was this alien? What was it running from? And what would happen when it woke up? Zara didn't have the answers, but she knew one thing for certain. Cultural misunderstandings. Zara was deep in the guts of the ship's electrical system, trying to reroute power to the failing life support, when she heard a crash from the medbay. Heart in her throat, she scrambled out of the maintenance shaft and raced to the bunk where she'd left the alien. She found it thrashing on the floor, tangled in the blankets, its eyes wild and unfocused. Zara approached slowly, hands raised to show she wasn't a threat. "Hey, it's okay," she said in her calmest voice. "You're safe. It's me, Zara. Remember?" The alien's gaze snapped to her and it froze, chest heaving. Recognition flickered across its face, followed by a wash of relief. "Zara," it repeated, the syllables strange but melodic on its tongue. "You saved me." Zara crouched down to help untangle the blankets, careful not to touch the alien without permission. "I did my best," she said with a wry smile. "How are you feeling?" The alien sat up gingerly, wincing as it put weight on its injured side. "Better. Thanks to you." It met her eyes, something deep and intense in its gaze. "I am in your debt." Zara waved a hand, feeling a flush creep up her neck at the raw gratitude in the alien's voice. "No need for that. I'm just glad you're all right." She helped the alien to its feet and back onto the bunk. As she checked its bandages, she could feel the weight of its stare on her face. "I am Lyra," the alien said after a moment. "Of the Calyx cluster." Zara glanced up, surprised. "It's nice to meet you, Lyra. Officially." She hesitated, curiosity warring with politeness. "I didn't know your kind could change form like that. When I first saw you." Lyra looked away, something pained flickering across her face. "It is not a common ability among my people. It marks me as different." Zara sensed a deeper story there but didn't push. She knew what it was like to be an outsider, even among her own kind. "Well, different isn't always bad," she offered, taping the fresh bandage in place. "It's kept you alive so far." Lyra met her gaze again, searching. After a long moment, she nodded slowly. Over the next few days, as Lyra recovered and Zara worked on the ship, they fell into a tentative routine. Lyra insisted on helping where she could, her long, deft fingers surprisingly adept at delicate repairs. Zara found herself enjoying the aliens' company, her gentle presence a welcome change from the isolation of solo missions. But there were moments of confusion, of cultural misunderstanding. Lyra flinched at sudden movements and loud noises, her form rippling as if fighting the urge to shift. She ate very little and slept even less, pacing the small confines of the ship when she thought Zara wasn't looking. And there were other things, small incidents that left Zara puzzled and off balance. The way Lyra watched her constantly, something intense and unreadable in her opalescent eyes. The way she hovered at Zara's side, always within arm's reach, as if afraid to let her out of sight. Zara didn't know what to make of it, but she tried to give Lyra space, to respect her alien ways. Until the night she woke to find Lyra curled on the floor beside her bunk, fast asleep. Startled, Zara slid out of bed and crouched down, hand hesitating over Lyra's silver hair. The alien looked small and vulnerable in sleep, her face smooth and unguarded. "Lyra," Zara whispered, gently shaking her shoulder. "Wake up. What are you doing here?" Lyra blinked awake, confusion giving way to a sleepy smile as she focused on Zara's face. "Watching over you," she murmured. "Keeping you safe." Zara's heart stumbled in her chest. "I'm safe," she assured, something aching in her at the thought of Lyra leaving her bed to guard her. "You don't have to do this." Lyra frowned slightly, sitting up. "But I do. You are my mate. My matched soul. It is my duty and honor to protect you." Zara stared at her, shock ringing in her ears. "Your mate?" she managed. "Lyra, I don't understand. We barely know each other." Lyra cocked her head, confusion playing on her face. "You saved my life," she said slowly, as if explaining something obvious. "You tended my wounds and welcomed me into your home. You have shown me great kindness and care. Is that not how humans choose their mates?" Zara gaped at her, struggling for words. A cascade of memories flashed through her mind, Lyra's constant closeness, her unwavering focus, the way she anticipated Zara's needs and deferred to her decisions. A sinking realization gathered in Zara's gut. "Lyra," she said carefully, fighting to keep her voice steady. "I helped you because it was the right thing to do. Because you were hurt and alone. Not because I wanted that." Lyra blinked at her, hurt and bewilderment washing across her face. She drew back slightly, shoulders curling inward. "You do not want me as your mate?" Zara's heart cracked at the lost note in Lyra's voice. She reached out instinctively, catching Lyra's cool hands in hers. "It's not that," she said helplessly, struggling to find the right words. "It's just, humans don't choose mates the same way your people do. Saving someone's life doesn't obligate them to be with us. And we usually take time to get to know someone before we make that kind of commitment." Lyra stared down at their joined hands, her fingers trembling slightly in Zara's grasp. I do not understand your ways," she said haltingly. "But I have dishonored you with my presumption. Forgive me." She tried to pull away but Zara held on, heart aching. "There's nothing to forgive," she said softly. "It's just a misunderstanding. You didn't do anything wrong." Lyra met her gaze, eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "But you do not want me." The stark pain in those words hit Zara like a punch to the chest. She swallowed hard, throat tight. "I didn't say that," she said quietly, hardly believing the words even as they left her mouth. I need time, Lyra. To understand what this means. For both of us." Something flickered in Lyra's eyes, a tentative hope. She nodded slowly, fingers curling around Zara's. "I will give you time," she whispered. "And I will learn your ways. But my heart knows what it wants. It will not change." Zara's breath caught, a shiver running through her at the quiet intensity in Lyra's voice. She didn't know what to say, how to untangle the knot of emotions inside her. But as she looked into Lyra's shining eyes, she felt something shift inside her, a tug toward something unnameable and vast. Maybe Lyra wasn't the only one who had to learn a new way of being. Before she could gather her scattered thoughts, a loud chime echoed through the ship, making them both jump. Zara scrambled to her feet, heart pounding. The proximity alert. Something was approaching the ship. Something big. Lyra rose beside her, eyes wide and fearful. "They found me," she breathed. "The hunters." Ice slid down Zara's spine. She grabbed Lyra's hand, mind racing. 1,000 questions burned on her tongue, but there was no time. They had to move. Now. Zara pulled Lyra toward the cockpit, a desperate plan forming in her mind. She didn't know what enemies Lyra had brought to her doorstep. But she did know one thing. She would fight to her last breath to keep her safe. No matter what Lyra was to her, friend, ally, or something infinitely more complicated, Zara knew she couldn't lose her. Not now. Not ever. As the ship shuddered with the impact of the first blast, alarms blaring and lights flickering, Zara met Lyra's terrified gaze. And in that moment, she knew her heart had already made its choice. An unexpected proposal. Zara's fingers flew over the ship's controls, adrenaline sharpening her focus to a razor's edge. She could feel Lyra's presence at her back, could hear the hitch in her breath as another blast rocked the ship. "Shields are failing," Zara gritted out, eyes locked on the readouts. "We can't take much more of this." Lyra leaned over her shoulder, scanning the displays. "It is an Icarian raider," she said tightly. "Heavily armed and armored. We cannot outfight it." Zara's mind raced, running through scenarios. If they couldn't beat the raiders in a straight fight, they'd have to outfly them. But her small scout ship was built for speed and stealth, not combat maneuvers. And with the damage they'd already taken. "What do they want with you?" she demanded, banking hard to avoid another volley. "Why are they hunting you?" Lyra hesitated, something bleak and haunted in her eyes. "It is complicated. My abilities are rare and valuable. There are those who would use me for their own gain." Anger flashed through Zara, hot and bright. The thought of anyone trying to exploit Lyra, to twist her gentle nature to cruel purpose, made her blood boil. "Not going to happen," she growled, hands tightening on the controls. "Hang on." She sent the ship into a dizzying spiral, weaving between the raiders' blasts. Lyra clutched at the back of her seat, eyes wide. For a moment, Zara thought they might actually make it. But then a lucky shot clipped their port engine and the ship shuddered, alarms shrieking. "We're losing power," Zara said through gritted teeth, fighting to keep them level. "I can't hold her." Lyra made a small, desperate noise. "Zara, I am so sorry. I never meant to bring this upon you." Zara glanced back at her, heart twisting at the anguish on her face. "This isn't your fault," she said fiercely. "I'm not going to let them take you." Even as she said it, she knew it was a hollow promise. They were badly outgunned and losing altitude fast. It was only a matter of time before the raiders caught them. But then, a flicker of movement caught her eye. A shimmer in the air, like heat haze over a desert. Zara blinked, wondering if the stress was getting to her. And then a ship materialized out of nowhere, sleek and silver, dwarfing the Nicarian raider. It hung in the air between them and the raider, shield shimmering. Lyra let out a gasp, her hand flying to her mouth. "It is my people," she breathed. "But how?" A voice crackled over the comms, calm and authoritative. "Nicarian vessel, you are in violation of galactic law. Stand down immediately or be destroyed." Zara gaped at the comm, hardly daring to believe their luck. She glanced back at Lyra, who looked just as stunned. The raider hung motionless for a long moment, as if weighing its options. Then, with a burst of thrusters, it veered away, disappearing into the hazy sky. Zara slumped back in her seat, heart hammering. She reached back blindly, finding Lyra's hand and gripping it tight. "Are you okay?" she asked, voice shaking slightly. Lyra nodded, squeezing her fingers. "I am unharmed. Thanks to you." She paused, wonder and confusion warring on her face. "But I do not understand. How did they find us?" Before Zara could answer, the comm crackled again. "Unknown vessel, please identify yourself." Zara glanced at Lyra, who nodded permission. She took a steadying breath and opened the channel. "This is Zara Cade of the Earth Exploration Corps. I have a passenger aboard, Lyra of the Calyx Cluster. We were attacked by raiders and request assistance." There was a pause, then the voice returned, warmer now. "Well met, Zara Cade. We owe you a great debt for protecting one of our own. Lyra is important to us." Lyra made a small sound, tears spilling down her cheeks. Zara turned to her, concern spiking. "Lyra? What's wrong?" Lyra shook her head, a shaky smile breaking through. "Nothing. It is just. I did not think they would come for me. That they would still claim me as theirs after." She trailed off, pain flickering in her eyes. Zara's heart clenched. She raised Lyra's hand to her lips, brushing a soft kiss over her knuckles. "Of course they came for you," she murmured. "How could they not?" Lyra stared at her, wonder and something deeper, brighter, shining in her gaze. "Zara," she whispered. "I." The comm chimed again and they both jumped. "Apologies for the interruption," the voice said, sounding amused. "But we would be honored to bring you aboard and see to any repairs your vessel requires. And to properly thank you for your service to our kin." Zara glanced at Lyra, brows raised in question. Lyra nodded, wiping at her cheeks. "We accept your offer with gratitude," Zara said formally. "Please send docking instructions." As the comm clicked off, Zara turned to Lyra, reaching up to cup her face. Her heart was pounding, but for an entirely different reason now. "Are you sure about this?" she asked softly. "Going back to your people? After everything?" Lyra leaned into her touch, eyes falling shut. "I am sure of you," she whispered. "Wherever you go, I will follow. My place is at your side." Zara's breath caught, her pulse stumbling. "Lyra," she managed, voice rough with emotion. "You know I care for you. Deeply. But are you certain this is what you want? Your people." "My people will honor our bond," Lyra said, quiet but certain. She opened her eyes, holding Zara's gaze steadily. "It is our way. When a life debt is incurred, it cannot be broken. You saved me, in more ways than you know. And I will spend the rest of my days proving myself worthy of that gift." Zara stared at her, heart too full for words. She didn't know if she believed in destiny or fate. But looking into Lyra's shining eyes, she could almost believe that the universe had brought them together for a reason. That this strange, impossible bond between them was more than a life debt or a cultural misunderstanding. That it was something rare and precious, worth fighting for. Worth choosing, again and again. Slowly, carefully, Zara leaned in, giving Lyra every chance to pull away. But Lyra met her halfway, a small, yearning sound escaping her as their lips met. The kiss was soft and sweet, a gentle exploration. But Zara felt it down to her bones, a rightness, a recognition. A homecoming. They parted reluctantly as the comm chimed again, the docking instructions scrolling across the screen. Zara rested her forehead against Lyra's, breathing her in. "Together," she whispered, an unspoken question in the word. "Together," Lyra answered, voice ringing with promise. "Always." Hand in hand, they turned to face whatever waited beyond the airlock. Strangers no more, but partners. Mates. Bound by choice and chance and a love that defied the stars themselves. As the ship shuddered into the docking clamps and the hiss of pressurization filled the cabin, Zara felt a calm settle over her. Let the future bring what it would. With Lyra at her side, she was ready for anything. A human in an alien world. The airlock cycled open with a hiss and a clunk, revealing a corridor of gleaming silver metal. Zara felt Lyra's hand tighten in hers as unfamiliar figures approached, tall and willowy, with the same opalescent eyes and porcelain skin as Lyra. The one in the lead, an imposing male with a fall of silver hair, stopped before them and pressed a fist to his chest in what Zara assumed was a formal greeting. "Welcome, Zara Cade of Earth," he said, voice resonant. "I am Kalen, first counselor of the Calyx. We are honored by your presence." Zara bowed her head respectfully, trying to emulate the greeting. "The honor is mine, first counselor. Thank you for your aid." Kalen's gaze shifted to Lyra and softened. "Relentless," he murmured. "It gladdens our hearts to see you safe." Lyra ducked her head, silver hair falling forward to hide her face. "I am grateful for the council's concern," she said formally. "And for your welcome of my mate." Zara felt a flush climb her neck at the casual claim, but Kalen only nodded, as if it were expected. "Of course," he said easily. "A life bond is sacred. We would not dream of separating you." He gestured for them to follow as he turned back down the corridor. "Come. There is much to discuss." As they walked, Zara tried to take in everything at once, marveling at the sleek technology and elegant design of the ship. It made her own battered scout vessel look like a child's toy in comparison. But what struck her even more was the way the other Calyx looked at Lyra, with a mix of reverence, curiosity, and something almost like fear. They bowed their heads as she passed, murmuring what sounded like blessings. Lyra kept her eyes forward, her grip on Zara's hand never loosening. Zara could feel the tension thrumming through her, the unease beneath her calm exterior. Kalen led them to a spacious room dominated by a large viewport. Beyond, the stars glittered cold and bright against the velvet dark of space. "Please, be seated," he said, gesturing to a low table surrounded by cushions. "I have taken the liberty of preparing a meal. You must be famished after your ordeal." Zara's stomach rumbled at the mention of food. She couldn't remember the last time she'd eaten anything more substantial than a nutrition bar. They settled onto the cushions, Lyra tucking herself close to Zara's side. Kalen took a seat across from them, his expression somber. "Relentless," he said gently. "We feared the worst when you disappeared. The council has been searching for you for cycles." Lyra tensed, her fingers digging into Zara's thigh. "I did not mean to cause worry," she said, voice carefully neutral. "I needed time to understand my purpose." Kalen inclined his head. "We understand. Your gift is a heavy burden to bear. But you are not alone in this. Your people need you, now more than ever." Zara frowned, glancing between them. "I don't understand," she said slowly. "What gift? What purpose?" Lyra sighed, turning to meet her gaze. Sorrow and something like shame shadowed her luminous eyes. "I am not like other Calyx," she said softly. "The ability to shape-shift, it marks me as a conduit. A bridge between worlds." She took a shuddering breath. "Once in a generation, a conduit is born. We are said to be blessed by the gods, imbued with the power to commune with the great consciousness that connects all life." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "It is a sacred duty. But also a terrible one. A conduit must give up their individual identity, their very self, to become a vessel for the greater good. To guide and protect our people." Zara stared at her, shock and amazement warring in her chest. "Lyra," she breathed. "I had no idea. That's incredible." Lyra shook her head, silver hair shimmering. "It is a lonely path," she said, voice cracking. "One I did not know if I had the strength to walk." So I ran. She met Zara's eyes, tears spilling down her cheeks. Until I met you. You showed me that I am more than my destiny. That I could choose my own path. Zara's heart seized, a fierce protectiveness rising up in her like a wave. She cupped Lyra's face in her hands, thumbs brushing away her tears. You can, she said fiercely. You do have a choice, Lyra. No matter what anyone says. Kalen cleared his throat delicately and they both startled, having forgotten his presence. Apologies for the intrusion, he said, not unkindly. But I fear the situation is more complicated than that. He leaned forward, hands clasped on the table. Our world is in crisis, he said heavily. A great blight has begun to spread across the land, withering our crops and poisoning our water. Our seers believe it to be a manifestation of a great imbalance in the cosmic order. He fixed Lyra with an intent look. Only a conduit can commune with the consciousness to discover the source of this disturbance and restore harmony. Without you, our people will perish. Lyra went still, all color draining from her face. No, she whispered. It cannot be. Zara's mind raced, a desperate idea taking shape. She turned to Kalen, chin lifted. First counselor, she said formally. I understand the gravity of your people's need. But there must be another way. Lyra is not just a conduit, but an individual with a right to choose her own path. She took a steadying breath. I propose a compromise. Let me help you investigate this blight. My people have advanced scientific knowledge and technology that may be of use. If we can find a solution together, then Lyra will be free to make her own choice, without the weight of her world on her shoulders. Kalen blinked in surprise, then slowly nodded, a glimmer of respect in his eyes. A bold proposition, he mused. But not without merit. The council will consider it. Lyra turned to Zara, wonder and gratitude shining through her tears. You would do this for me? She asked tremulously. Risk yourself to help a world not your own. Zara smiled softly, brushing a lock of hair behind Lyra's ear. I would do anything for you, she said simply. You're my mate, remember? Lyra let out a choked laugh, pressing her forehead to Zara's. How could I forget, she whispered. My heart, my love, my brave human. Kalen watched them with a small smile, then rose gracefully to his feet. I will leave you to rest and refresh yourselves, he said. When you are ready, I will show you to our research facilities. Perhaps together, we can find an answer. He paused at the door, looking back at them with ancient, knowing eyes. Thank you, Zara Cade, he said softly. For bringing our Lyrelix back to us. And for showing us that even the oldest traditions can change, with the right inspiration. With that, he was gone, leaving them alone in the starlit room. Zara turned to Lyra, heart too full for words. She pulled her close, marveling at the miracle of her, the strength and beauty and impossible odds that had brought them together. We'll figure this out, she promised, voice rough with emotion. Together. I won't let you face this alone. Lyra clung to her, face buried in her neck. I know, she whispered. With you at my side, I feel I can face anything. They held each other as the stars wheeled overhead, two hearts beating as one in the vast expanse of space. A human and a conduit, bound by the unbreakable ties of love. Ready to take on the universe, one challenge at a time. The joining ceremony. The next few weeks passed in a blur of activity as Zara threw herself into the research, working alongside the Calyx scientists to unravel the mystery of the blight. She was amazed by their advanced technology, the way they seamlessly blended the biological and the mechanical. But even more than that, she was amazed by their spirit, their unwavering commitment to the greater good, their faith in the power of harmony and balance. It was a philosophy that resonated deeply with her own beliefs, even if their methods were sometimes foreign to her. Through it all, Lyra was a constant presence at her side, her hand never far from Zara's. She had a keen mind for science herself and proved to be an invaluable bridge between Zara's human perspective and the Calyx way of thinking. Together, they made progress, isolating the toxin that was poisoning the land and working to develop a counteragent. But it was slow, painstaking work, and Zara could feel the tension mounting among the Calyx with each passing day. Then, one morning, Kalen summoned them to the council chambers, his face grave. "The blight spreads faster than we anticipated," he said without preamble. "Villages on the outskirts have begun to fall ill. The people grow restless." He fixed Lyra with a heavy gaze. "They call for the conduit to fulfill her destiny. To commune with the great consciousness and beg for salvation." Lyra went still, her hand tightening convulsively around Zara's. Zara swallowed hard, a cold knot of dread settling in her stomach. "First Counselor," she began, fighting to keep her voice steady. "I understand the desperation, but we're close to a breakthrough. If we can just have a little more time." Kalen held up a hand, silencing her. "I'm afraid time is a luxury we no longer have," he said gently. "The council has decreed that the joining ceremony must take place at once." At Zara's blank look, he elaborated. "It is the ritual by which a conduit fully assumes their role. They merge their consciousness with that of the ancestors, gaining access to the wisdom of generations past." Lyra made a small, pained sound, drawing Zara's attention. She was pale and trembling, fear stark in her luminous eyes. "Lyra," Zara breathed, pulling her close. "Talk to me. What is this ritual? Why are you afraid?" Lyra clung to her, face buried in her neck. "The joining is irreversible," she whispered. "Once a conduit merges with the consciousness, their individual self is subsumed, their memories and identity surrendered to the greater whole. They become a vessel, nothing more." Zara felt like she'd been punched in the chest, all the air leaving her lungs in a rush. She shook her head vehemently, voice cracking. "No," she gasped. "No, Lyra, you can't. There has to be another way. I can't lose you, not like this." Lyra pulled back to meet her gaze, tears spilling down her cheeks. "I don't want to leave you," she said, voice breaking. "But if it's the only way to save my people." Zara gripped her shoulders, eyes burning. "It's not," she said fiercely. "It can't be. We'll find another solution, I promise." She turned to Kalen, determination steeling her spine. "First Counselor, I beg you. Give us one more day. Just one more chance to find an alternative." Kalen hesitated, conflict playing across his angular features. But before he could answer, a chime sounded, signaling an incoming transmission. The far wall shimmered and resolved into a view screen, revealing a haggard Calyx in the robes of a healer. "First Counselor," he said urgently, dispensing with formalities. "We've had a breakthrough. The Outlander scientist, she found a way to neutralize the blight. It's spreading through the contaminated soil now, healing everything it touches." Stunned silence reigned for a long moment. Then Kalen let out a shuddering sigh, closing his eyes briefly. "Thank the ancestors," he breathed. "And thank you, healer. Keep me apprised of the situation." As the screen went dark, he turned back to Zara and Lyra, a slow smile breaking across his face. "It seems we owe you a great debt once again, Zara Cade," he said warmly. "You have saved us all." Zara barely heard him over the rushing in her ears. She turned to Lyra, hardly daring to hope. "Does this mean?" Lyra nodded, a laugh bubbling up through her tears. "I'm free," she whispered, radiant joy suffusing her face. "We're free." Zara let out a whoop of elation, sweeping Lyra into her arms and spinning her around. Lyra clung to her, peppering her face with kisses. "My love," she murmured between presses of lips. "My heart. I choose you, now and always." Zara set her gently on her feet, cupping her face in trembling hands. "Marry me," she blurted, the words torn from the deepest part of her. Not because of destiny or duty, but because I love you more than life itself. Lyra's eyes went wide, her mouth falling open in shock. For a terrifying moment, Zara thought she'd overstepped. But then Lyra was nodding, laughing and crying all at once. Yes, she said, the word ringing like a bell. Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes. She threw her arms around Zara's neck, kissing her deeply, heedless of their audience. Zara returned the kiss with fervor, pouring all the love and relief and incredulous joy into the press of her lips. A delicate cough from Kaelan broke them apart, both of them flushing at his amused expression. It seems a joining ceremony is in order after all, he said, eyes twinkling. Only perhaps a bit different than we anticipated. The next few hours passed in a whirlwind of activity as the Calyx threw themselves into preparations with gusto. It seemed the entire ship was determined to make the impromptu wedding a celebration for the ages. Zara found herself draped in shimmering silver robes, her dark hair braided with glowing crystals. Lyra was a vision in iridescent lavender, her hair unbound and floating around her like a halo. They clasped hands before Kaelan in a great hall filled with joyous Calyx, exchanging vows and promises as ancient as time. Their minds touched, a chaste version of the joining, and Zara gasped at the overwhelming sensation of love and acceptance that flowed between them. My heart beats in time with yours, Lyra murmured, eyes shining. Until the stars burn out and beyond. My soul is forever entwined with yours, Zara promised, voice thick with emotion. In this life and the next. Kaelan raised his hands, a beatific smile on his face. What the cosmos has brought together, let no force in the universe tear asunder. A cheer went up from the assembled Calyx as Zara pulled Lyra into a searing kiss, tears of joy streaming down both their faces. As they parted, Lyra rested her forehead against Zara's, a small, secret smile playing about her lips. I think I'd like to see your Earth, she murmured. Meet this family of yours that taught you to love so fiercely. Zara grinned, heart too full for words. She envisioned showing Lyra the soaring mountains of her homeland, the vast oceans, the endless wonders of the human world. Seeing it all anew through her beloved's eyes. I'll take you anywhere you want to go, she promised, stealing another kiss. As long as we're together. Lyra hummed against her lips, a sound of perfect contentment. Together, she echoed. Always. And as the Calyx broke into a traditional song of celebration, as the stars swirled overhead in an endless dance, Zara held her mate close and marveled at the strange and beautiful path that had brought them here. To a love that crossed worlds, that defied destiny. A love that would light their way through any darkness. A perfect union, in an imperfect universe. She couldn't wait to see what adventures lay ahead.